Got it. So we're live now, and I think where I want to start today on the discussion and topic of money is around limiting beliefs and stories and conditioning around money, socially, and the myths that we've come to understand and believe about money. And then I want to go into the truth about money and the principles that govern money and success, prosperity, and abundance. And I don't want this to just be about money. I want it to be about prosperity, about abundance, about being able to create. But I want to kind of remove, so my intentions for the group is that I help you remove as much of the same blocks and obstacles I've faced around money as possible. So, and for those of you who are on the front end live portion of this call, if you'll post in the comments section some of the limiting stories and beliefs, all that you can think of to help fuel the conversation, that would be helpful at this time. So everyone start to pay attention to what are some of the limiting beliefs and stories that you picked up from parents and siblings and family and society growing up. So money is the root of all evil is one of the most clear ones. Yes, money is hard. It's hard to get. It's hard to come by. Money is hard to make. Rich people are greedy. I'm just reading off the list of the side here. Money is hard to get. Money is evil. Money is scarce. So let's look at some of the sayings and quotes that we've heard. So what comes to mind first for me is like, it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for a camel to get through the eye of the needle. I've heard love is the root of all evil. I've heard money doesn't grow on trees. What else have you guys heard? So I'm going to read what you guys have written over here. So money is limited. I don't deserve to be wealthy. To be okay, we have to be broke or have debt. Loving money misses the point. Charging high ticket for your services is next to impossible to do. We can't afford it. Yes, that was very common as for many, many children to have parents. Yeah, we can't afford it. Being wealthy means you won't have friends. You'll leave people behind. Yes, very common. Sacrificing is noble. Very, very common. So if these are the things that we've made up or we've gathered from interacting with others, and well, before we move on, I really want to dig more deep. So it's like this thing. So let me tap into what I believed as a child, and I don't know how much of it was implied and how much of it I just made up or whatever, but I remember thinking rich people were greedy. I remember in the past having thoughts that if I did better, then someone else would do worse, and that if someone had more, that means someone else had less, as if there was a finite amount. It's kind of like if there's 10 apples and I take 6 of them, then there's only 4 left for everyone else to share. So in that concept, there's a finite amount of resources that we're sharing amongst an infinite almost amount of people. But the truth is with money is it's not finite like that. And the truth is about value and value exchange is it's infinite. Later on I want to do a demonstration about exchange that will give a powerful example about how infinite it is and how the more we give, the more there is. Yeah, if I don't struggle through life, I'm a jerk for not suffering others. So that's a huge one right there, what Jonathan shared, which is, you know, if we look back to the psychology and the energy of money, human beings have barely been able to survive for most of our life. We were the rugged individualist as pioneers even just a couple of years ago. Back from that, we had basically kings and royalty, and then below that was peasants. There was no such thing as a middle class. And so when you go from, I'm the rugged individualist living out on the plains, and I have to do everything and give everything I've got just to survive year in and year out, and that's if the rains come at the right times and the right amounts. Otherwise, who knows how tough it's going to be. But as the king and in a bunch of peasants, the far majority of humans have, throughout all the history of mankind, have been poor. And so when we look at energetically the evolution of mankind and the evolution of the nervous system and how much energy we can handle in our nervous system, it's been wired for a low thermostat setting in all forms of energy, positive energy. So we look at relationships. Think a couple hundred years ago. Think even 100 years ago, women couldn't vote. Think about all the countries and all the oppression that happened and inequality sexually all over the world that even still exists in some cultures today on many, many levels. And in various levels in every culture. So considering the fact that for the most part of humanity, we've sucked at relationships, we've sucked at money. I mean, think about communication and relationships. It wasn't a matter of openness and equality and communication skills. Those were not even a factor 100 years ago. It was just matter of fact. Men are men and women are women, and this is the roles we play. And if you can't, conform to that, then we'll call you a witch and burn you at the stake. It might be that big of a deal for a woman to really claim her power back in the day. She may have just been a great herbalist who loved serving people and healing people, and maybe she was, too confident and outspoken, and so they may just name her a witch and burn her at the stake. So there's this thing exists in our psyche of if you look at the amount of time that we've been in consciousness in relation to money, in relation to life, in relation to relationships and each other, and to be living a life of prosperity, it's been a very, very short period of time. It occupies about, if you're in like a 40-story building, we occupy less than the coat of paint on the ceiling of the top floor of the amount of time in evolution we've spent from this space of co-creativity, of equality, of prosperity and abundance. And even the lifestyle that every one of us lives on varying degrees. If you are in a first world country, you are prosperous. You have a better lifestyle than kings had a few hundred years ago. And so you may be in a scarcity consciousness, not really appreciating what you've got, but you are in prosperity. And by truly embracing that and appreciating it, it's one of the key steps to moving forward, embracing more prosperity. But knowing that a big part of the game is the upper limits problem and simply raising our frequency and how much our nervous system, how much positive energy can our nervous system handle, including money. Because when you're accustomed to making X amount of dollars and then you stop, you make more than that. So there was a time when I was accustomed to making like $3,000-4,000 a month, and that seemed like a lot to me. And then I grew that up to like $10,000 a month, and that seemed like a lot to me. And I remember at that point I went on and I made like $100,000 in 1 month, and then I wasn't wired and acclimated to handle that kind of income, and so I immediately sabotaged. And for like 4 months, I brought in zero income and made a whole bunch of screw-ups and mistakes by my upper limits pattern of not being acclimated to that level of positive energy and money into my life. Jonathan brings out another point is the starving artist. There's so many starving artists out there who do what they love. So there's an underlying belief that is, if you do what you love and follow your heart and you don't follow the rest of the herd who work in corporate America or work in a cubicle or have crappy jobs that they hate trading their life for, that you will go broke and you will starve. And so it's, one of the beliefs is it's risky to follow your heart. It's risky to follow your passion. It's risky to, be an entrepreneur and build your own business. Well, I say there's nothing more risky than what they call the long haul, which is get in, do a job that you hate, in an environment that sucks, slave your whole life away, sacrifice your family and your purpose, to 60 years later retire on 70% of your income and hope that inflation and everything else that happens doesn't consume that, and that you'll be able to live out the rest of your life half-assed, barely paying the bills. And somehow we call this security. Yeah, the 45-year plan. So let's see what Jody says. You can do what makes money, or you can do what you love, but not both. Yeah, and then he includes, it hurts me just to type that. What a great point there. So yeah, he's like, that plan scares the shit out of me. Like, what more? How more insecure could you be than to place the fate of your financial future in someone else's hands and say, hey, I'm not going to take responsibility for my financial fate. I'm going to get a job for you and assume that you're better at giving me a job than I could be at giving myself and others a job. And I'm going to build your passion and purpose instead of mine, and I'm going to call this security. So let's look at the root of this. If the root of all evil is money, that's like saying, spoons make people fat. That's like saying, what's another one? So, a lot of this, there's big issues with guns. There's this argument back and forth about guns, but at the end of the day, one person has a gun and doesn't kill anyone ever and never will, and another person has a gun and they annihilate people, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the gun that did it, it was the person. We could also say pencils kill people. There's a million things that kill people. We could say hammers. We could take a hammer and say hammers are destructive. Well, you wouldn't have a house without a hammer. So in the hands of one person, a hammer is a very creative tool that builds and constructs. In the hands of another person, it's destructive. Or even the same person could take a hammer and build something in one moment, and in another moment he could take and destroy something. And so the same goes for marketing, the same goes for sales, the same goes for money. It's not that money in and of itself is evil or good, it's actually neutral. Money is completely neutral. It's a tool, and only a tool. Now, if I wanted to control you and keep you small, now, if you guys want to get a deeper in-depth understanding of this, read or listen to, download the audiobook, Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil by John, what's his name? Or anyone else type in his name? Napoleon Hill. Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. So listen to that and pay attention to all the ways that, whether it be the devil or whether it be the devil in our own mind or a combo of the two that controls us and keeps us suppressed. One of the best ways, if I wanted to keep you suppressed, would be to have you be broke. Why? If you're broke and you love your children and your wife or your husband, and you highly value keeping them alive, I can get you to do anything. I get you to sacrifice your entire life. I could get you to sacrifice your purpose. For some people, I could get you to kill somebody. I could get you to steal. Like you look at the motivation that causes these stupid things in relation to money, it's scarcity. It's not having prosperity. And it's not the root. Like, the money isn't evil. It's a person. If a person's good and they have money, they will expand good. It's like adding a microphone to whatever that person is. So if you are truly a pure person and you don't want to be that rich, greedy, selfish person who is destructive and hurts people, then just be pure here. And when you get the money, it'll just amplify that and bring that out even louder and even further in the world. So your first job is just be a good person. And then the money will reflect and amplify that. If you are an ugly person inside, and then you get money, it won't. So like one old saying I've heard is, money makes people change. Money makes people evil. He was a good guy, and then he got money, and he turned into a jerk. Well, half of that isn't even true. It's just that along the journey to learning how to create prosperity, they learned about environment and maybe quit hanging out with super negative people, and then those negative people started talking trash about them and saying they were jerks, and then we bought into that shit. Right? So that's half of it. And then the other half, actually my mind went blank. But so rather than just it being about that they became evil, if they were a negative, selfish, self-centered person and then they got money, then it just shined more. It just got amplified. Money didn't make anybody anything ever. Ever. It was just an amplification of what they were doing inside. And along that journey, it made it perfect for them. We may even have the tendency to go into judgment about that, like they were a good person, then they got money, and then they turned stupid or evil or whatever we want to say. But the truth is, what if that was their perfect journey? What if they aligned with some principles that blessed them with money, and then it amplified some stuff in them that wanted to be loved and cleaned up and healed and cleared up, and then because of that it came out, and then they had some expenses, they lost friends or ultimately failed in business or whatever, and then if they were willing to learn, then they learned those lessons and it purified them. So we tend to judge each person's experience according to where they're at now versus the big picture. And we have no right to judge where anyone's at. Even if they did get money and turn into a jerk, that may be their absolute perfect journey. And then it's the guys that made up the stories and then justified and defended and spread the disease of lack is good and scarcity is good and poverty is good and self-defeat and abuse is good and all these other things. I mean, that's the best way. If I were a Satan or an evil person of any form, if I wanted to control people, the best way I can control them is make them hate themselves and make them be broke. Then I can get them to do any damn thing I want by simply promising this, that, or the other. We can have Unabombers, we can have terrorists, we can have everybody, as long as I can promise you 70 virgins when you die and, whatever it is that motivates you, evil, and I made hell the worst thing in the world and heaven the best thing in the world, and then indoctrinate you to believe that if you do this, you'll get that, and if you do this, you'll get that, then I can control the living shit out of you and get you to do pretty much anything. The more scarce I can get you to be, then you will go into fight or flight. In psychology, the way it works is when we're up here in our frontal lobes, we are in creative. This is where we solve problems. We generate solutions up here. When we're at the base of our brain, where our head meets our spine, there's the base part of our brain that's our survival part of our brain. And from that place, all I can process is fight or flight, drama, survival. And if I get you broke, and you've got kids to feed and yourself to feed, and it's a matter of survival, you're no longer a logical human being. You're no longer coherent and capable of solving problems because you're too caught up in survival. That's one of the reasons why the law of tithing is a correct principle and works, whether you're a religious member or not. Giving away what you have, subconsciously, I've got plenty. And when you vibrate on a level that says, I have plenty, you attract plenty. Because you're saying, I have plenty to give. I have more than enough. I have more than enough that I have plenty to give away. And the more you give away, the more that comes back because of the law of reciprocation. And energetically, I'm attracting it to me because I'm subconsciously generating and vibrating. I have plenty. Unless I'm not, I might tithe and have the scarce thing, and I keep attracting scarcity because we don't attract what we want, we attract who we are. We attract what we vibrate. So if I'm vibrating scarcity, I will get more scarcity. So money as a neutral energy that is a tool, meaning it's a vehicle to create with. It's a method of validation, meaning it proves that value was created. If I have money, it means that I provided value in other people's worlds. Now, there may be another scenario that we could have that without having money, and let's play that out for a minute. Let's assume that the dollar, the American dollar, collapsed. I've been hearing since I was a young child the world was coming to an end, and the American dollar was going to collapse, and all the evil bastards were going to fall, and we, the saints, were going to rise up, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? So however much of that's true and not true, I have no idea. But let's assume for a minute that the end of the world's coming and that everyone who's not in chosen groups is going to hell and that the financial system is going to collapse and we're all going to suffer tremendously. Well, let's assume some portion of that's true and just play this scenario out. So if the dollar collapsed and it had no value, then it would make no sense for us to transfer these paper things we call money anymore, right? Well, back in the day, they used to exchange cacao, which is the raw form a bean, similar to a coffee bean, that makes up chocolate. And we also know it as cocoa, which is just a branded name for cacao that's been processed and had a lot of crap added to it. So cacao is actually healthy for you and is considered a superfood and is used by many cultures as a longevity food that is high in energy, high in vitality, but then we take it and we adulterate it by adding all our crap and calling it cocoa. But cacao used to be exchanged as money. There was a time when they exchanged stones as money. Now we use dollar bills and coins as money. Well, money is just a representation. It doesn't matter if it's gold. And some people say, well, the dollar is going to collapse, and the only thing that sells is gold and silver. Well, funny enough, people who are selling gold and silver are the ones that sold that to the people who are trying to sell that to you. And it may be true that someone, if the dollar fell, that people would exchange gold and silver. But the point is, it doesn't matter what we're exchanging. What matters is that we're exchanging value, and not the gold or the silver isn't value. That's no more valuable than any other dirt that you pick up or rock that you pick up, other than that we make it so in our minds. It's that someone can say, this is special, and sell it to you. And yeah, gold may be harder to find than dirt and a typical sandstone. And so that is a good form of something that we can have be scarce and use to control a market. But at the end of the day, what matters is that we have an easy system of tracking the exchange that we create. Meaning, money, prior to the Adam Smith, he did this thing called the wealth of nations. And what he was able to prove was that the rugged individualist, which was the way we lived prior to him, was a very limited way of being, which the rugged individualist is me as a pioneer living out on the plains, and I've got to build my own fences, build my own log cabin, build my own farm, grow my own food, give birth to my own babies. I basically got to be everything. I'm out on the plains all alone, me and my wife and my kids, and I've got to do everything. Like I got to raise my animals, everything you can think of to survive. I've got to have chickens and eggs and cows and milk and fences and housing and farming, and I've got to somehow pull all this off on my own. And there's only X amount of hours in the day, so if I slave my entire life away, we'll have a mediocre log cabin on a mediocre plat, and as long as everything goes good, then we'll survive. and it's this constant life of survival and scarcity. Well, he discovered mathematically and was able to prove in this presentation to the world that if we had people specialize in specific individual industries, that we would be exponentially more efficient, and therefore we could all prosper way more. And it proved to be true, and it contributes to your amazing lifestyle today. Even if you think you have a shitty lifestyle, it's just a mindset. If you have 4 walls around you, and you have a power on, and you have a stove and a refrigerator and a car and all the shit that every one of you have no idea how fucking lucky you are and how blessed you are. And it's you making yourself miserable with your thoughts and your stories and your scarcity and your poor me victim mentality. And in every moment of your entire life, you have had everything that you needed. Otherwise, you would not be here right now. If you're on this call, you have always had everything you needed. And so shifting to a state of gratitude becomes a critical piece of the journey, because it raises our frequency and our vibration and allows stuff to start coming into us. And then some of us fall into the, well, shouldn't I just be grateful for what I have and not strive for more? Well, does the universe expand? Yes, the universe is ever-ending. Is God creative? Yes, He's creative. Are you a child of God? I believe so. So if you are you meant to be creative as well? Yes, then expansion is your nature. And so yes, being grateful for what you have doesn't mean that you don't also go out and expand upon that. In the parable of the talents, it was perfectly demonstrated. The master, and before I go on, there was something I was sharing about wealth of nations. So I'm going to come back to wealth of nations. Remind me of that if I get lost. So the parable of the talents. Master comes to one servant and says, and I'm going to totally slaughter this because I don't even know the details very well, but he comes to one servant and he gives them a talent of, let's call it gold, right? So he gives them a talent of gold and says, do good with this, and don't screw this up, or whatever he says. And then I'm going to say that he gives each one of them 1 talent, but I think he gave one and a little more or something else. But I'm just going to say a master went to each of the servants and gave them some gold. I'm going to put this in layman's terms. He gave them some gold. He's like, here's some gold, here's some gold, here's some gold. And one of the guys takes it and buries it in the backyard. He says, I'm going to keep this safe. I sure don't want to lose this for master. I'll make sure and keep it safe. I'm going to bury it and keep it safe. The second one takes it and he says, yeah, I want to expand this and be a good steward of this. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to expand it a little bit. And he expanded it a little bit. He took and leveraged it and utilized it to produce more value and brought in more gold slightly. And then the third servant took that gold and very wisely used it. And expanded it tremendously, like tenfold. And yeah, this comes from the Bible. And he brings it back, and the master comes back later, and he says, okay, to the first one, what happened? He's like, you'll be proud, master. I buried the talent, and it's all safe and sound. Here you go. Okay. Second servant, well, what happened with your talent of gold? Master, I expanded it. This 1 became 2. Oh, that's great. Cool. And servant number 3, what happened with you? He's like, I took this talent that you gave me and I made it into 10. And the master says, you've done amazing. And he takes the talent from the servant who buried it and said something like, slothful servant, you've taken something of tremendous value and hidden it away. And now I'm taking this away from you and I'm giving it to someone who will expand upon it and make it more. Now, apply this to gold, and then we can transfer this over to money, and we can take this to seeds. It could be that you grew tomatoes, and instead of eating all the damn tomatoes or hiding the tomatoes or just hiding them out, maybe you went and he gave you tomato seeds, and you planted those tomato seeds, and it grew into 100 tomato plants, and each one of those tomato plants grew 50 tomatoes on them, and then you got 100 seeds out of each one of those 50 tomatoes, and I don't even know the math fast enough to calculate that. But instead of having one pack of seeds, you now have 100,000 seeds. And the master comes back and says, hey, dude, where's my seeds? And you said, not only do I have the original pack you gave me, I've got 100,000 more. Who does that not bless? Who does that not serve? And so expanding upon it is the nature of things, and everyone, it blesses everybody and everything to do that. So what if this also applies? So what if we were given talents and we take it away from talents of gold and we say talents of gifts, of messages, of love? Because at the end of the day, all of our purpose, we can boil it down in various ways. And we talk about purpose, but one of the definitions of purpose is to answer the call for love wherever you hear it. To answer the call for love wherever you hear it. Well, we're talking about money today. You might ask, well, what does money have to do with love? Well, let me tell you. When you're sacrificing your entire life, struggling and stressing over money, and you send your kids to a half-assed school that has drugs and alcohol and guns and scarcity, and they're judged against other people, and they're not being taught about relationships, they're not being taught about principles that govern prosperity, they're not being taught about communication skills, or all these things because you don't have the money to do it? Interesting. And when you're broke and you go work your life away and you're not there actively in your kid's life because you can't afford it, interesting. And when you work 8, 10, 12, 16 hours a day, for me it used to be 20 or more hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and then your kids grow up and they go and create, so for me it'd be daughters, so then your daughters have this experience of having dad be gone, and so then they're automatically psychologically attracted to men who are unavailable, emotionally, mentally, physically. And so they seek out these men that are unavailable, and then they have shitty relationships, and then they get divorced, and so now we got to have 2 homes, and now both people are working as single parents, struggling, barely getting by, teaching their kids the same shit, and we're consuming twice as many resources because we have to have twice as many houses because we have all these divided homes, and we just pass on, just like the child molester passes on child molestation, we pass on scarcity and brokenness and divorce and struggling relationships and all of our BS patterns, and it costs Mother Earth, it costs all of us, it costs our kids, it costs everybody, all because we were scarce in the first place. What if dad was home all the time? What if mom was home all the time? What if instead of dad and mom working 24/7, or one or the other working 24/7, what if it was like my life? Yeah, I get up early, 4, 5 in the morning. I work out, I meditate, I study, I journal. I do all these things before my family even gets up. They get up around 7 or so, maybe 8, depending on the day. So I've been up for a few hours, got a bunch of stuff done, and now I'm present with them for the next 2, 3 hours. While we play, I help get my daughter ready for school. She doesn't know the difference between mom and dad when it comes to food and diaper changing and prep and all of that. She just experiences both of us being there. And then we have her in all these cool things. She's got private tutors in schools and child care that comes to our house as we go on date nights, and she sees us being happy, and I'm there till 10 o'clock in the morning. I usually don't start work till 10 or 11 in the morning. I work for a few hours, and I'm off usually around 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, and I'm present with the family the rest of the day, regular date nights and all these things. So what my daughter is witnessing is parents who get along, who do what they love, who live in prosperity, who never say we can't afford it, who never say anything stupid like money doesn't grow on trees. There's never anything saying that she's lesser than or can't. In her mind, she's just, of course, everything's abundant and easy and prosperous and love, and like that's just her psyche. She's not being conditioned and contained down from the infinite spirit she was. I mean, she is because she's human, but not to the degree that I was and that most people are. And she has a mom and a dad there that's there every single day. So psychologically, the chances of her, like she wouldn't, it's very unlikely that my daughter will attract a man who's unavailable for her. She might go on a date with someone like that and be like, you're nothing like my dad. My dad's epic. He's been there all the time. You suck. I'm next, next, next. Like, she's not going to settle for that crap. She already knows something better. She's not going to think that's normal. She's going to think it's abnormal. So prosperity, when we're a clean, loving, kind, caring person, and we've taken the time to purify ourselves, there was some guru, really awesome guy, I don't remember who it was, you know, everything we want. And God wants us to have everything we want. And it's not about not having everything we want, it's about being conscientious and cleaning ourselves up so that, and aligning in the inside so that what we want is a win-win, that it's truly loving and that it is supportive for all. And so as we do that work here, the money will just amplify that. So let's come back to wealth of nations. So Adam Smith was able to prove that rather than me knowing how to raise chickens and cows and somehow pull all this off miraculously, I can't even imagine how one dude would pull off all that stuff while mom's cleaning the house and making food and taking care of the kids and all that. Like, that just sounds so like 24/7, as hard as you can go and barely surviving every year. I can't even imagine. But he discovered that if one person specialized in chickens, and one person specialized in eggs, and one in meat, and one in milk, and one in fence building, and one in house building, and one in this, that person would continuously get more and more efficient at that skill, and it would become a master at that ability. And that mathematically, if every person was mastering those abilities and systematizing and automating and improving and just gaining efficiency in each one of those fields, then mathematically, if you get out of the scarcity, because we do have people who get in greed, truth is there are some rich people that are greedy. But on top of that, my experience has been the majority of rich people are rich because they provided so much value. The majority of rich people are just awesome people, just like you and me, who came from nothing and discovered need and value in the marketplace and aligned with the principles that govern that and created prosperity by providing massive value. When I was young, I would have never believed that. But as I've climbed the ladder, I've met more and more and more wealthy and successful people. And the truth is, I don't think I know one wealthy person who is a jerk, who came by it dishonestly. I can think of possibly some out there. I've definitely heard of them. But everyone that I know, and I know hundreds, is a down-to-earth, amazing, hard-working, dedicated person who has provided massive value in the world, who has made massive contributions in people's lives. So as we move into that wealth of nations economy where people specialize and provide value, it's a game changer. And it allows you. So if we go back to the parable of the talents, what about the talents you've been given as speakers, teachers, coaches, business owners, the gifts, talents, and abilities, whatever it is that you have? If you're hiding those and not using those to serve others, is that not burying your talents? If you're sitting back for fear of not being lovable or not being good enough or being fundamentally flawed or worrying that people will judge you or criticize you or condemn you or turn on you, and so instead of shining and sharing your gift, sharing your message, reaching out and blessing people in whatever way you can, whether that be through labor, physical massage, construction, cleaning business, ministry work, coaching. If you have talents, gifts, and abilities and you're not sharing those in every way possible with everyone you can think of to give value and make a difference in people's lives, are you not hiding your light under a bushel? Are you not burying your talent? And do you see the correlation between those two? So the one parable was don't hide your light under a bushel, instead shine it from the mountaintop. The other one was don't bury your talent. No, take it out and expand upon it. So the same thing, like if you don't use your talents, gifts, and abilities, whether it be your money, your knowledge, your resources, your message, your love, your whatever, and you're not taking that and utilizing it to bless other people's lives, don't wonder when other people, like, the more I bless and give, the more I receive. Like, even this group right here, Limitless Legion, I formed this purely out of my heart. I was like, I said, look, a lot of people were interested in these topics. Let's create a group. I've got these high-paid programs. This would be a great way for me to give back at no charge and just give. This would be an outlet for me to give away. And then afterwards I thought, and this could be an outlet for me to market to other people, and some people will upgrade, and that will become paying clients, etc. But the original intent was just, no, this is an outlet for me to give away and serve. It's just what boiled up out of me, and I followed that intuition. And then I realized, cool, and those who want more will come to me for more. And since forming this group, I bet I have made probably $50,000 in sales from this group as a result of people saying, I really appreciate everything you're doing. You've made such a tremendous impact for me. If just giving me this content and showing up and blessing me in this way and just teaching me concepts is making this big of a difference in my life, working with you one-on-one or working in your groups and having accountability and deep associations and being kept on track and getting the direct one-to-one breakthrough processes and all of this, I've got to have that. And so I've had person after person reach out to me for those reasons. And so, again, this group wasn't formed me saying, how can I get money? It was formed me saying, how can I provide value? How can I share my gifts, talents, and abilities? My message there, guys, is it's when you go about it saying, how can I get more money? That's the stupidest question you can ask when you're trying to get more money. The smartest questions you can ask is, how can I serve more people? How can I provide more value? How can I bless people more deeply? How can I be of more service? What's the deepest possible value I can provide? Now from here, I get to go into the principles that govern prosperity. Because I learned this principle of dollars follow value, which could also be changed to value follows value. So value follows value. Let me give you a gardening analogy. If I plant the seed, well, if I take the seeds and I throw them on the ground, I'm like, okay, give me tomatoes and then I'll water you. I'm never going to get tomatoes, right? So if I first provide value, and think about it, with the tomatoes, I plant this, I cultivate the soil, I plant the seed, I water it, I nurture it, I weed, I cultivate some more, I water it some more, I weed some more, and I care and I care and I provide value and I provide value and I provide value and I provide value and I provide value. And then months and months later, Boom. Lots and lots of tomatoes from one seed. One seed becomes 50 tomatoes that inside of them contain thousands upon thousands of seeds. It's a miracle just to even think of it. How did God and nature get programming to have a seed be able to do that? It's almost like creating something from nothing. And it's not that when I plant that seed, that means there's less tomatoes in the world for everybody else because I have a lot of tomatoes. Notice funny that nature don't work that way, but somehow we do in our ego mind think that the more money I have, the less someone else has, or the more prosperity or goodness I have, the less others have. That's purely a construct of the ego. Because the truth is, like take tomatoes in nature, the more tomatoes I plant and save those seeds properly and plant again, there's always more tomatoes, and no matter how many tomatoes I have, it means nothing about how little of tomatoes you have. The only thing that determines how little of tomatoes you have is how well you're doing at planting and cultivating tomato seeds, and how you're doing at managing that process. This is the same with your prosperity in every aspect of your life. Right, so the second principle, so the first principle is dollars follow value, or value follows value. I provide value first, and then value comes back. Provide value, value comes back. Infinite. Notice, so the number 8 is the infinite sign. So I give out, it comes back. I give out, it comes back. It comes back, I give out. It comes back, I give out. So if I say, yeah, guys, pay me, and then I'll give you value, none of you would be here right now, or half of you would, or just a small fraction of you might be here. But not even that if I hadn't already provided value. That's why I get on Facebook every day and provide value, provide value, provide value. 1, because it feels good. 2, because it creates that infinite loop of in and out, that we're just constantly improving and increasing our ability to give and receive love and positive energy. And I made that connection between love and money. Am I answering the call for love when I talk about money? You bet your ass. Because when you get at peace with this, and you get aligned with this, you live a life of service, of value creation, of peace, of freedom, of joy, of choice, where you show up for your kids. And if all we did was empower people that have good hearts, to have good money, and the number 1 vote in all the world is money. You can go place your votes at the ballots, and I would argue that your vote on what you buy has way more of an impact than those ballots. You want oil to thrive? Buy gas. You want electricity to thrive? Buy electricity. Whatever you buy, that's what you're promoting. You buy junk food, you're promoting junk food. You buy destructive products, you're promoting destruction. You vote, the biggest vote you possibly have is with your dollars. So the second principle, value follows value, is the first one. Second one, exchange creates wealth. Because one of the other things that's been violated is we've been taught to self-sacrifice. It's one of the biggest things that holds us up. I'll sacrifice and sacrifice. So this is what I went into. When I learned value followed value, I started giving away value constantly, but never requesting a win-win exchange. And because of the block, I had a block of not being willing to receive and pushing away compliments, pushing away positive energy, even compliments. I couldn't even handle that much positive energy. Hey man, you're so awesome, thank you. No, it's nothing. Look at even the gesture. No, it's nothing. I'm seriously, with my body language, with my verbiage, with my everything, blocking out that positive energy versus receiving. The same thing financially. When I do something of value for somebody and they say, that was amazing, what can I do to help you? Oh, nothing, I'm good. No, someone wants to give back to you. They've received your gift and they're grateful and they want to give a gift back. Say yes, thank you. Come up with something. Say, well, tell me a little bit about your talents and gifts and abilities. What are you passionate about? Well, I love doing massage. Well, crap, I'd love to have a massage for me and my wife. Would you be willing to do that? Yeah, I'd be glad to. Awesome. Or it might be, I'm amazing at marketing and I could help with this aspect of marketing. Great. That's awesome. Yes, well, I accept. So don't keep turning it away, guys. There's no honor in selflessness the way we've been taught. There's an essence behind it that is good, which was, don't be all self-centered and absorbed and caught up in you, because if I show up and I'm just thinking of me, then I'm like, all I'm thinking is, how can I get your money? How can I get your money? How can I get your money? And I'm manipulating, trying to get money versus how can I provide value? And when you come from that different energy, then it automatically attracts to you versus repelling from you. So exchange creates wealth. So the more we exchange, the more prosperous we become. So economically, one of the things that, so the exchange rate, so the more we exchange, the more prosperous everyone becomes. So I don't know if I've shared this before, but a demonstration would be if we were sitting around in a circle, let's say 10 of us, and we did what the economy does. So the economy goes, the news goes, oh, the economy's down, and so everyone grabs onto their money and holds on to it. They go into scarcity mode. Oh no, there's not enough. Hold on tight. Keep my share. Make sure I've got what I need. Forget everybody else. And so everyone grabs their money, and then, so if you wanted to ever make a bad economy, it'd be super simple. Just say, we're having a bad economy, and then all the sheep will follow, and you'll have a bad economy. Because everyone will grab onto their money, and then what happens? They stop buying boats because we're going into a recession. And then the boat buyers stop buying cars because we're going into a recession. And then the car buyers stop buying houses because we're going into a recession. And it just boom, 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 dominoes down the line. Everyone goes broke because everyone quits providing their value to the world. But those who don't buy into all that scarcity and instead say, okay, well, what's in need today? Guys, there were more millionaires created during the Great Depression than any other time in history. Let that register on a deeper level. There were more millionaires created. And this back in the 1920s or 30s or whatever it was, when a million was a lot. Like, it was hard to fathom $1 million back then. Talking like 10 cents for a loaf of bread, $1 million. And there were more millionaires created during the Great Depression than in any other time in recorded human history. Do you realize the magnitude of that statement? Why? Because supposedly money was scarce. It was bad times. Well, if there's bad times, that means there's a lot of problems. And so all it took to make a bunch of millionaires is to have a lot of people step up and solve a lot of problems. Are you going to be one of the sheeple who goes, oh no, it's bad times, and then buckles down? Or are you going to be one of the people who says, okay, there's lots of problems to solve, let's go serve? I don't know how long ago it was, but I read an article on McDonald's and Burger King. They both shared about 50%. They were the key leaders in the fast food industry. They're about neck and neck. And a recession came. It might have been the 80s or 90s or 2000s, I don't know. But a recession came. And they took two different paths. Burger King said, it's a recession. We need to tighten up. We need to really buckle down for this recession till it's over. Let's cut our marketing budget. Let's cut all budgets as much as possible. Let's cut expenses, and so we can weather this storm. And McDonald's did the opposite. They said, you know what? There's a recession. It means we need to be smarter. Let's double our marketing budget. And this is not exactly what happened. Just pay attention to the general idea, but it's something along these lines. They said, let's up our marketing budget and let's be strategic about how we market. And so they got together and met somehow, and they came up with the dollar menu. And if you look at it and compare dollar for dollar, the dollar menu is no cheaper than the rest of their damn food. It's just like instead of a 6-piece nugget for $6, you get a 3-piece nugget for $3. Woo! Dollar menu, right? So, but they go on, and Burger King says, we're going to cut off marketing, and no one's going to hear from us, and we're just going to assume that they're going to show up at our door. McDonald's goes on and says, hey guys, we know it's a bad economy. It's a struggling market. We feel your pain, and for that, we've created our new dollar menu. We're in this together. And just like the good sheeple that people are, all the sheep run to McDonald's, because who are they seeing on their TV screen while they sit around watching TV and complaining about their miserable ass lives? McDonald's, 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 and they see less Burger King, more McDonald's than ever, less Burger King than ever. And McDonald's is saying, acknowledging their problem, which is money's tight. We're in this with you. That's why we created our new value menu. You can still have all your favorite delicious foods for a price that you can afford, even in this economy. Woohoo! Let's run to McDonald's. Now, McDonald's had not necessarily any better food, not necessarily any better product or service. They didn't necessarily have anything better, and they had an equal market share. Well, McDonald's now controls about 75% of all fast food market share, including every fast food joint you can think of. Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr., Green Burrito, Del Taco, Burger King, Subway, and every other one you can think of, all put together, and McDonald's owns 3/4 of the market. Why? Because they could convey a message effectively and repackage and reorganize their menu to meet people where they were at. Now, in the Great Depression, there were other things that were of more tremendous value. People discovered key problems and solved them. So there's deeper levels of value. McDonald's didn't make a massive value add. They probably took a slight profit cut on some of their value menu stuff. Not the hugest value add, but an incredibly intelligent marketing campaign. But there's others that have true deep, deep value that they bring to the marketplace. And they solve big problems, and they create prosperity doing it. So exchange creates wealth. Now, if we were sitting in that circle with 10 of us, and I said, here's $1, and then the rest of you pull out whatever you've got in your pockets of gum, food, snacks, drinks, whatever, not necessarily your pockets, but whatever you've got on your person, and let's see how much value we can exchange. We could do this two ways. I'd say, okay, for the next 30 minutes, keep everything to yourself and hoard it and see what happens. So everyone would sit there for 30 minutes holding on to their thing, and nothing would happen. And then I would say, okay, for the next 30 minutes, see how much value you can exchange with each other. See how many valuable win-win exchanges you could create with your talents, gifts, abilities, and whatever material possessions you have on your person. One person might have a pack of gum, one person might have some candies, one person might have some drinks, one person might be able to massage, another person might be able to coach and give insights and knowledge. And like every person in that circle has value to add. And so you might have 10 people there that in 30 minutes are like, oh man, the time's up. We were just getting going. We were having a blast. I got my shoulders rubbed. I got a piece of gum. I got a drink. We're having awesome conversation. This was amazing. But the first 30 minutes was the most boring 30 minutes ever. Everyone's just sitting there holding on. And so that's the difference, guys. So value follows value. Get out and provide the value, but then create the exchange. Don't sacrifice yourself. True win-win is the only correct principle. What they meant when they were teaching you, don't be selfish, is don't be that self-centered prick who's always in it for just you, because that don't work either. If I'm just in it for me, you'll know it, and you'll want to be as far away from me as possible. But if you're just in it for you, same thing over here. But if we're both in it as producers, seeing how much value can we provide, how much better can I make their life, and both of us coming from the come from of, I'm going to give more than I receive from this person. And if everyone went around the world and operated that way, focusing on how much more value can I provide in all of my relationships than I take from my relationship, the whole world would transform. And even if the whole world doesn't choose to play that game, I can transform my whole world today by living that way now. But then there's some of us, again, that go out and sacrifice ourselves, and then we end up broke. And then what ends up happening, because we've been on the hero square, you haven't heard me talk about the drama triangle. There's victim, villain, and hero. And when I go sacrifice me to save you, later on I resent you because I'm on the hero square. Later on I jump on the villain square, because who do heroes attract? Heroes attract victims and villains. That means victims come and say, please save me. And then later they say, you didn't save me, you're such a jerk. And the victims turn into villains. And so the hero sits here and gets attacked from villains and victims constantly. And the victims want to tap into them and suck their lifeblood out of them for free, for nothing. What can I get? What can I get? Producers think, what can I give and what can I receive? How can I create win-win? How can I give to you and receive from you? Producers are always looking for what they can give and what they can receive, both. They're not sacrificing themselves, and they're not asking others to sacrifice for them. If you guys want to get this, like one of the best books of all time, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and listen to listen to John Galt's speech and listen to Dan Conia's money speech. You get some key insights. Just phenomenal. So one of the other key principles is people are assets, not things. Yep, who is John Galt? So people are assets, not things. What does this mean? On spreadsheets, we cars and our things, and supposedly these are of value. But all of these will be dirt. And none of them mean anything. The true value that we have is people. Without people, you have no relationships. Without people, and without relationships, you have no growth. Without relationships and growth, you don't fulfill your spiritual purpose. There's no one to love. There's no one to connect with. There's no one to serve. There's no one to exchange with. Every bit of value you will ever receive in your entire life came in relation to some other person or some other living being or thing. When you think of marketing, don't think of don't think of it the way you've seen it done. Don't think of how can I go post a billboard or an ad or a commercial to get people to buy my stuff. Think of it instead as relationship building. Who do I want to connect with and build a relationship with to provide value with, that I would enjoy hanging out with and exchanging value with and communicating with and connecting with? That's true marketing. It's relationships. It's value creation. It's exchange. Every bit of love you ever get comes from another person. Every bit of money you ever get comes from another person. If you don't start valuing people and yourself equally and focusing solely on how can I serve and provide max value, and get out of my way, get out of your whole way of I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I don't have certifications, I don't have trainings, I don't have degrees, who am I, I'm not qualified, I don't have the proper authority, I don't get out of all of that, oh no, what if they reject me? Get past all of that and just know that it's not about you, it's about service of others. It's about building relationships that open up the door for you to serve others. So people are assets. Now, one of the other key principles is human life value is the source and creator of all property value. What does this mean in layman's terms? It means a combination of everything you know and all the resources you have to leverage is what creates your ability to produce material possessions in this world, whether it be money or cars or houses or things. So, you know, I was an investor, pretty big time investor at one point in my life. I had real estate and oil wells and stocks and bonds and futures and Forex and all this stuff going on. And I later came to realize that the only thing worth investing in, there's only I have 3 different investments, but two of them are basically the same. And at the end of the day, it's just this. Me being a whole being and me being able to serve others more deeply. So like I'm at a conference right now, learning how to better serve more people. I'm constantly investing in coaching and relationships and mentors and trainings for me to be able to serve deeper and help people more powerfully in every way possible, whether it be psychology or body language or communication or relationships or marketing or sales or whatever. I'm investing constantly into my human life value, my knowledge, and my resources to help and serve and bless more people, to be able to solve more problems. Mr. Fuller was a classic example of just living a life to solve problems. He was a guy who worked a job, was miserable, went to a bridge, almost committed suicide, decided who the hell am I to take my life, and then devoted right then and there the rest of his life to just solving problems for people and providing value in the world. He ended up becoming wealthy and solving so many problems without ever even focusing on making money. Who was that? That was Buckminster Fuller. So one of my favorite quotes, I'll slaughter it because I don't know it exactly, but he's like, hey, instead of fighting against anything that's existing that you want to change, just build something new that outdoes it. You know, so build something new that renders it outdated. So if you don't like the current school system, don't fight against it and tear it down. Just, you know, create a new school system that renders the old one outdated or anything else. So whatever it is you don't like, don't fight against it. Just stand up and create something that makes that look obsolete and stupid. Okay, so dollars follow value, exchange creates wealth, people are assets, human life value is the source and creator of all property value. There's more principles of prosperity, but those are the keys. What else about money before we wrap this thing up? Any questions you guys have, go ahead and type them to the side. I'm going to say something simple. If you don't have more than enough money, you don't have all the money you want, It's real simple. You're not providing enough value in the world and creating enough exchange for that value. It's just those three things. You don't have the money you want, you're not providing enough value, and or you're not creating enough exchange for that value. Another thing to know in that is make sure you pick. So there was times when I provided what I deemed to be a lot of value, but I wasn't making the money. And when I look back, one, I wasn't creating the healthy exchange of win-win, where we both won. I was self-sacrificing and then later resenting them for and God and life that I wasn't thriving. And then the other piece was, so I was providing lots of value. Give them what they want, not what you think they need. So like when we talk about marketing and stuff, when I sell money, notice the trainings I taught money were passion, purpose, and self-love. Well, those are the foundations to money, guys, and to success in all aspects of life. So a lot of people go directly to money. Let's talk money. Well, if I was to sell to the average market, and if I would have just made a post on the day that I launched this group, if all I would have posted was attend my self-love training later today, we probably would have gotten like 10 of you on, and that would have been it, and it would have died. That's the reality of our world, the way it is, as it sits. If I don't strategically think about how to deliver a message that people will listen to, then they don't listen to me. So if I said, so I may say, hey guys, come to my money training, and then I may bring you to my money training, teach you what I've taught you today, and teach you a lot of self-love and help you break through your stuff and then handle some other things, and boom, we got money. So you got what you came for. I sold you what you wanted, but I gave you what you needed. So you got what you wanted and what you needed. But if I just showed up with what I think you need, but you don't want it, so like if any one of you who were, when you first had never heard of personal development, and if I got on and was selling personal development or self-love of some sort, you'd be like, who's that quack? And you just brush right past it. If it was like 5 years ago and you'd never done self-work, help, or personal development or anything, and I posted a flyer on personal development, you wouldn't even notice it. You would scroll right on past it. But you would notice things that you were interested in. It might be a better relationship, or a healthy body, or more money, or passionate sex, or whatever it is that you want. So I get to be, before I was aware of this, I would just post, I would look and think, what they need is self-love. And so I might post a flyer of some sort advertising my green smoothie meditation self-love retreat. And lo and behold, no one shows up. Everyone's like, who's that quack over there dancing by himself with his shirt off? But as I learn to repackage, then I'm saying things differently, but I'm still delivering. I know what people actually need. It's self-love and integrity and unconditional love and all these correct principles. But I get to package it in a way that people will respond to it because it's what they want. So I might package it as, hey, you're going to have better sex, and you're going to have more money, and you're going to, get healthy and be fit and feel sexy, because people buy that shit. And are those things good? Can they be good? Can they be of service to you? Can all of those things help your spiritual growth? Absolutely, if you're doing it for the right reasons in the right way. Can I help you get those things? Absolutely. What's the foundation? Unconditional love, impeccable integrity. Are there other principles and strategies and techniques to get there? Yes, we can do those too. But riddled throughout the message will be those same things. So I sell you money. I smuggle unconditional love and impeccable integrity. And you get money in the process, but in a good way. So keep that in mind, guys. It wasn't, in the Great Depression, people didn't get rich because they went and sold something that people didn't want. People who get rich sell something that people want. And don't try to convince people to want something they don't know they need. Instead, find something that they want and make what you know they need align with them getting what they want, and that's where it works. Let me see if we have, so any questions over here, guys? Not seeing any questions, so I'm going to check in one last check-in. If I don't see any questions, then we'll wrap this thing up, and let me see if I get any more insights that want to come through today. Okay, so money and parents. Obviously, your self-love stuff is what sets how much success you will allow for yourself. So self-love is fundamental, and some of the key self-love stuff is healing with your parents, healing with your childhood, healing all the unloved parts of yourself like we've discussed in previous trainings. Also, typically, your mother represents your romantic relationships and your father represents your finances. And so if you have issues against masculine energy or your father, you will project those onto your creator and onto money and all of that, and it will hinder you tremendously. So coming to terms with your father, both, you know, if your eternal father and your earthly father, coming to terms with them is a key part of coming to terms with money. Another powerful process I had some of my paid clients do recently was to write letters to money. I had them, you know, take and, you know, take the $100 bill and, you know, write a letter to Ben saying, hey Ben, haven't seen you for a while. Don't seem to come around as much as I'd like you to. What's up with that, man? And have this authentic, heartfelt letter to Ben around your feelings and frustrations and thoughts and stories and judgments and all the stuff you've been having in relation to him. And then turn around and have him write a letter back to you in response about your role in all of that and what you can do for that. I think that's it for today. So before we wrap, a couple of things, guys. Community is growing great. We've had around 70 additional members this week. Really appreciate all of you doing your part to contribute and share the gifts, share the love, share the, like, this is one of the most beautiful communities. I've heard so many people, even at this convention that I'm at, I've had multiple people come up to me and say, hey, I joined Limitless Legion. It's so awesome. It's my favorite group. So much value, so much authenticity, so much openness. It's just beautiful. Thank you so much. So guys, this is a beautiful, safe community. We're seeing all these breakthroughs being posted every day of people, new insights, new breakthroughs, new realizations and ahas and liberation and freedom. So keep up the good work, and remember, the more authentic you are, the more real you are, the more value you provide in that forum, the more valuable this place is, and the more you're going to inspire others to do the same. The more authentic you are, the more authentic others will be. The more value you provide, the more value they'll provide. And the same thing, like, bring the message out, bring the people in, and be sure you're reaching out actively to invite the people that you love, to have them up level and increase this for all of us. Easing the journey. Helping all of us to have more and more loving support and success and positive vibes and building this amazing community. We have only just begun where we're going with Limitless Legion. We'll have thousands upon thousands and tens of thousands of people in Limitless Legion making a change in the world. Imagine 10,000 of us gathering our lights together and shining from this level of authenticity and love and integrity, and the change that we make and the ripple effect of that into the world. If we had 10,000 people that only affected 100 people apiece, if it was 10 people apiece, that would be like 100,000. If it was 100 people apiece, it's like 1,000,000 or 100 million or 10 million or something like that. So, guys, the ability we have to totally transform the planet is right here. And it's up to you. It's up to me to show up, to provide value, to create exchange, to make this a place that they will automatically want to come and to reach out and bring them in, to share in the truth, to liberate the people with good hearts, to thrive and make the difference and magnify that good heart into the world. So as a homework assignment, which will help all of us in the entire group, just like John posted earlier, like the breakthrough of just voicing and expressing yourself to this group in this safe environment is a great stretch. As you post content, you post videos, you do these things that stretch you, you get more and more comfortable. You know, your comfort zone goes from here to here to here to here to here until you're fully liberated, living full out and just being you. And offering your gifts and talents to the world. No longer hiding your light. No longer burying your talent. So homework assignment today is get on and share the importance and the value of this call to you. What were some of your key takeaways? And encourage other members to do the same, to get on and watch the recording. Guys, if you didn't see the recording, the live, make sure you get on and watch the recording and share with us what you learn and take away so we can continue the discussion and allow it to not just be, okay, every Tuesday we have an awesome call, but that we expand upon that the rest of the week and share and expand and build upon it. Everyone contributing and discussing and inviting and everyone putting in. Don't be the consumer who shows up to get. How much can you give to the group? How much can you get? Receive. Receive all you can receive. How many people can you bring here? How much contribution can you give within the group? How authentic can you be? How much can you use it to serve your expansion, your growth, your learning? And to embody these principles that I've taught you. Not only from a money perspective, but just right here, without money, just value, building relationships within this group. Reaching out, making a difference, being the difference, being the change here in this world, in the limitless legion world. Show up here and cultivate your ability to do it here, impeccably and powerfully, and watch how that automatically reflects out into the rest of your world. That's my message for today, guys. Get online, get on the group, private with it. So in our private group, go to your public wall and just share from your heart. Biggest takeaways, the importance and the value, and what you most got out of it, and why you recommend others get on and watch the training. And let's just keep doing the work. Thank you, guys. Create an amazing rest of the day. See you on the forum.